Hey everybody, it's Shadowstar and Crystal here for another review of The Flash. This time it's episode 5 of season 1, Plastique. But before we get on to the subject matter, we'll talk about a few other things that happened. First off, we get a fun little scene, but we learn a few more things about Barry in this episode. For one thing, he cannot get drunk. He can run up buildings and run on water. Just more powers for you. Wait, you're saying Jesus can't get drunk? Then why would he turn water into wine?
For the other people.
That's a really weird thing to do. That's his shtick. He gets other people drunk, so he has to be their designated driver and pay, and has people pay him for it.
Yes, he drove.
Yeah, everyone knows Jesus is his designated driver.
What did he drive?
A Dacia Sandero.
What?
It's a car.
Okay, and where'd they get a car?
You know, he built it.
Okay, Jesus built the first car. Wonderful.
But getting back on track to this episode... the other plot thing, other thing we learn about in this episode is we're introduced to General Wade Eiling and the military, who want the villain of the, well, not the villain, but the subject matter of this episode, which, on one hand, it makes for some interesting plots as we're going to learn out, but as for the singular plot in this episode, wouldn't it have been really nice if they integrated with Arrow and made it Argus, not the Army? You could have even made General Wade Eiling work for Argus so you don't have to use characters we're already using on Arrow, but it just would have been really cool to connect it. That way, I mean, we already know Argus does shady stuff. It seems like something they would do.
Yeah, I see your point.
I just thought of that. It would have been an interesting twist, but no, it's just a general army and a general military. But Wade Eiling does have some interesting stuff. As we learn, he has worked with Harrison Wells before. And we learn that, obviously they've worked together, they had disagreements about doing something.
And they worked with Grodd, someone that comic book fans would recognize.
Exactly. We get some interesting stuff. We get to learn some foreshadowing about something called Grodd in a cage, which was actually foreshadowed or mentioned in the first episode. We saw its cage again.
Yeah.
But that's about it. But like we said, the army is after the subject matter being Plastique, a female who makes bombs. But she's also our first metahuman outside of Barry who is not inherently evil.
Yeah, I like that we finally get one that is not really the villain.
I like that they didn't wait too long to do it either. It's nice to think there's obviously... Because that's the thing, the show often shows lots of metahumans being evil, but I like to believe there are metahumans out there who we don't know about them because they're just not doing anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously we learn about her, and because she's a good guy, she's got to have the most useless power you can think of, or at least the most hindering power you can think of, where she makes bombs even if she doesn't want to.
Yeah, that must be horrible.
Exactly, but we get some interesting dynamic where she learns Barry's secret and she kind of works with the team for a bit, or at least gets to be in and with them, not for long, just for the episode, but at least it's the first person they've really let in since the show began.
Yeah.
Not counting Felicity, but she was kind of already in because she kind of already knew stuff.
Yeah. But I like that it also shows not all powers are all that useful. Like, when they explain to Barry, she can't really join the team because, she can't, save people with it.
Exactly.
Really.
We'll get to see... There'll be other times we have people with powers which are just useless and harmful to themselves or others or both. But, I like that we're introducing things fast. It's not a huge episode, but it's nice to at least change up the pace for this episode. Because, the past 4 episodes have all been Stop the Villain. And this one, we're not really stopping the villain. The closest to a villain is Wade, and we don't really stop him or do much about him. We really just, get introduced to her, and obviously we have to stop her when she explodes, but that's about it.
Yeah.
But I suppose the only other side plot is with Iris, and she's writing... I know, the most useless character on the show, but you know what annoys me? And it's not a problem with this episode per se, it's just a general thing, is why is the Flash story, at least in this type of area, just feel like a rip-off of Superman? I mean, the main love interest is a reporter who writes about the hero.
Oh, yeah.
It's just so weird that they do that. They're both DC, too. I don't...
Yeah, I mean, it was probably like that in the comics.
Of course it is. Yeah, Iris
was...
is a reporter in the comics, so is Lois Lane. Lots of characters in comics are reporters. I don't know why. It's just...
I wonder if Iris and Lois interacted much in the comics.
I would have no idea.
Mm.
But yeah, it's just an odd thing to think about. But other than that, we get some really dumb drama because they don't want Iris to report on the Flash, which, okay, makes sense, but at least it's some silly drama.
Mm.
But yeah, it's also I think it's the first time that Barry vibrates his voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he had to show it to Joe.
But, well, and to Iris.
Yeah.
But all in all, that's the episode. An enjoyable episode, except for some silly Iris stuff. And hey, they changed up the pace, so at least we're not repeating things too much. Because season 1, when we're not dealing with the main plot, can sometimes feel a little repetitive with here's a metahuman, stop the metahuman.
Yeah. It had its annoying moments, it's had its good moments.
But at least I
don't know what to give it other than 6.5.
I was going to give it a 7. That seems to be our pattern. You say 6.5, I say 7, which means it's a nice episode. It had maybe some annoying bits, some good bits. It's not a huge episode. It's just there. It's a nice, fun episode.
Yeah.
There you go. This was an enjoyable episode. We give it our usual ratings of 7 and 6.5. Next episode is episode 6, which I believe is The Flash is Born.
Ah, yeah. I think I remember which one.
I wonder if you remember what that is, because for once the title doesn't really tell you what the thing is.
Oh, I know what that is.
We'll get to it. But with that being said, this has at least been an enjoyable episode, other than Iris, but what can you do about that? She's the Laurel of this show. Although, unlike Arrow, they've realized, at least with Arrow, they realized that Oliver shouldn't be with such a horrible character. But
and even then, Laurel's getting better.
For now.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, we'll see you next time for the more Flash, Arrow, and other things as well. See you next time.